Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Black Women in Corporate America. I'm your host, Nicole S. Palmer. In addition to show creator, I am the author of Playing the Game While Black Women in Corporate America. Thank you for joining me for another episode. We are now officially at episode 7, and I'm excited for you to be here. Lots to unpack today. Really excited, really energized to have you join me today because we got some good stuff to talk about. And so we're going to get right into it. First and foremost, please like, share, and subscribe my content, my podcast. Wherever you find this podcast, please go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and rate it. If you're on Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast, please go ahead and rate it. Please, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe wherever you find me. Thank you in advance. Your support means the world to me. This is 100% a labor of love. So I appreciate all of the support from everyone that I've gotten so far. This has been a pretty exciting week. And so today's topic is actually going to be a little bit different, but it's still pretty on brand for me. So I just really want to talk to you all about something that's really, I would say, the foundation for this podcast, the foundation for everything that I do, really. And I want to get into it. So without further ado, let's do the thing. So today I want to talk to you about pursuing your passion. And the reason why this topic is so near and dear to my heart, it's always been that way, to be honest. So I want to talk to you guys about pursuing your passions and why I do what I do, how we got here, essentially. And this has been a week. And I say that in the best way possible, to be perfectly honest, because this has been, for me, a revelation week. And if you are at all familiar with my content on YouTube, and if you're not, what are you waiting for? Go get into it. It's a lot of good stuff in there. No, but seriously. So I have more than one playlist on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. And the way I think about my YouTube channel, which is Nicole S. Palmer, in case you're not aware, but go check out at Nicole S. Palmer on YouTube. And the way that I look at my channel, I really look at it as a network. If you think about it, I'm going to put it in an analogy of sorts. If you think about a TV network, let's say USA Network. So that is the entire network, but then it has all these different shows that you can choose from. And so that's how I've set up my YouTube channel. I have the network, which is Nicole S. Palmer, but I have right now, and for now, 2 distinct shows or subsets or playlists, if you will. And so one is very much all about Black women in corporate America, and the other is very much a personal journey through some of my current challenges that I have, focused on my journey to healthier in terms of my physical health. And so I just decided to start to chronicle my journey through that in a separate playlist called Fast With Me. And this is not a shameless plug. I just wanted to give you a little bit of context before we jump into the crux of what we're talking about today. So these are 2 distinct streams that I have, but they're both a part of who I am, right? And one talks about sometimes some heavy stuff, and the other can be heavy, but it's really focused on this aspect of myself that is really trying to find her way through the struggles that come through being labeled morbidly obese, yet being healthy enough to skate a marathon and run circles around people half my size, but not looking on the outside like someone who cares anything about their health. And of course, it's a story for another day, but I just wanted to break that down and set the stage for you. And I plan to continue to do this. I plan to actually build out and add more shows. That's what I'm calling them, to my channel. And so you're going to see a little bit of everything on there. And again, they're all different facets of who I am. So if you want to get to know me on a different or more personal level, go ahead and check out that playlist. It'll be perhaps illuminating. But I really wanted to talk to you. It really brings me to the point of pursuing your passion. And this week has been all about that. Without getting too into the weeds, because if you want to know more about it, you should really go check it out. But this week, I've really been focusing on reflecting on who I am. And I know that sounds weird to say, well, what do you mean you're reflecting on who you are? You should know who you are. Yes, of course, on some levels. But because I have some very, very big goals for 2025, I really wanted to take a moment to think about those goals and really make sure that they're in alignment with my mission, my vision, my values, and most of all, my faith. And I'm not going to obviously get too much into that, but the bottom line is it's very important for me that what I do is in alignment with what I believe. And I think that would be the case for anyone, regardless of your denomination, your background, your upbringing, your culture. And so it's a really important thing for me, and it's something I take very seriously. And so I spent the better part of this week really focused on asking that question of myself. And part of why I asked the question is because I did feel like I was at a crossroads in terms of where I am. When I started this journey with the book, Playing the Game While Black Women in Corporate America, I did it out of a deep belief and knowing that it is what I was called to do because of my experiences in corporate America, because of what I dealt with, because of the literal hell that I went through in my last corporate job. And I knew it was important for me to share my story because I knew that I couldn't be alone, that there were other women like me that went through a similar issue. And so I knew that I had to share my story. And that led me to write the book. And I wrote the book, ironically, 9 months after the book came out, about 9 months after I left the job in question. And it was picking up steam initially. I got some really good traction. It was on the bestseller list on Amazon. It was on the hot new releases, right up there with Viola Davis and all these other, I would say, household names. And it was blowing me away because I'm thinking to myself, and this is something that I'm working on with my publicist. Shout out to my publicist, Black Girl PR. But something that she is helping me work through is thinking of myself as little old me. And I don't say that in a self-deprecating way, but I look at myself as, okay, I'm just this, kind of like unknown entity out here just trying to do something that I feel will benefit the public good, right? And she reminded me that there's nothing little about me, and that's a mindset shift. But we'll talk about that another time. But, I was sitting here and I took all these screenshots because I was like, I have to take screenshots because I think in a little bit from now, I'm not going to believe that my book was right up there with these big name stars. And all of these things were happening and I was super excited. And of course, as anyone would be. And then there was like this slowdown where it just seems like things were kind of at a lull. And then, of course, the inevitable doubt comes in and you start to think, is this really what I was meant to do? the self-doubt creeps in and you begin to wonder, maybe I went down the wrong path and I shouldn't have really been pursuing this. Maybe I should have stuck over here where it's safe, where I know these things work and they sell and they do well. So I had, or one would say, was a little bit of a crisis of faith, if you will, where I wasn't really sure if I was where I was meant to be, if I was really walking in my purpose, when I thought very clearly I was supposed to do this book, and then the idea for the podcast came in and I went full speed ahead, and then I saw this slowdown and I thought, oh, maybe that's not what I heard. Maybe I just heard what I wanted to hear. And I did have this moment where I was struggling or wondering if I was even supposed to be doing this in the first place. So fast forward to this week. Last week, I had this epiphany of sorts that I really needed to focus this week that we're talking in on reflecting and really seeking guidance and answers on what's next for me. I made the commitment to partner with a publicist, which is, again, something I've never done before. But I decided that, and honestly, it was more my husband that was helping me kind of give me the nudge, because in my head, I'm thinking, this is bananas. But he was so supportive and just at the bottom line saying that it was time for me to bet on myself. And so we agreed and went ahead and hired a publicist. And I was terrified the whole time. I was terrified when I signed the contract. I was terrified when I handed over that nice chunk of change. I was terrified. I will tell you 100%, even as I was doing it, even a little bit after. And we've only been working together this will be like week 2, and it's been nothing short of amazing. She knows what she's doing. She knows what she's talking about. And it has been so encouraging for me to work with her, especially as a Black professional that she is, and she understands this space and what I'm trying to do. And so when I talk to her about my goal, my mission, my vision, and why I decided to create this book and why I decided to do this podcast, she is all in, guys. And sure, you can say, well, you're paying her. Yes, I get that. But she sees it. And she has been so encouraging to me and really helped me to see myself differently. Because I do believe it's one thing when you believe in yourself. And I think we all do, right? We all believe we're capable of phenomenal things, as we should. But it's another thing altogether when someone on the outside comes in and says to you, no one else is doing that. No one else is doing this in this space. To recognize that you have identified a gap, a gap that you clearly see because you walk through those issues and you came out the other side. Worse for wear, but came out the other side nonetheless. And so to hear that I have come up with something that is a fresh and unique perspective, and the way that I'm approaching it was very encouraging to me and very motivating. And I still, though, even in all of that, I still had some lingering doubts. And the reason behind that, I will be full disclosure with you all, is that this is not my first rodeo. So while you may only know me as Black woman in corporate America and the voice behind this podcast, or the author of the book, if you've got the book, I've been in this industry for a long time, in the what I would call the creative industry. So I have been an author multiple times over. I have managed social media channels for several other clients. And I currently have one particular community that has grown to nearly 500,000 subscribers. And anyone would say, whoa, what are you doing over here? You should be doing that over there. And I don't disagree. And that has done successfully with very little effort on my part. And I'm not saying that I don't care about it. It's just that it almost took on a life of its own. And I love what I do there, but it's very different from what I do here. It's a completely different world. And I say that to say that because of the success I've had in that space, because not only have I nurtured and grown this community of individuals that are what I consider my extended family in a lot of ways, I've written books in this space that have done phenomenally well. And so I started to wonder if I was focused in the wrong space and looking at the wrong things or areas where I should have just been doing what I started with. So all of that led me to last week making this decision that I was going to be very focused on seeking clarity on my purpose. And that's what I focused on this week. And so I decided to do a lot of self-reflection this week, and I do that through fasting and meditation and prayer. And that's just how I approach it. Everyone has different names for it. Some people do yoga. Some people do, guided meditation. Whatever it is, whatever works for you, that's what you do. For me, that's what works. And so I decided I would do that for a period of 5 days. And my goal really was to get really clear on what I should be focused on, because sometimes you start doing a lot of things and then you end up doing a whole lot of nothing. And you at the end of the day then realize, how much did I really accomplish, because I was doing a bunch of stuff, throwing stuff at the wall, none of it stuck, and now what? So that's where I started my week. On Monday, I started my meditation, my prayers, my fasting on Monday. And I did that all the way up until yesterday, so 5 days. And I, the whole time, was really seeking and looking for clarity and purpose and understanding and peace about where I was headed, because again, I know this is going to be a big year for me. And so I needed to be clear that the direction I was getting ready to sprint in was in fact the right direction. There's nothing worse than driving full speed ahead up a one-way street. Super awkward. I've seen it happen multiple times. And so I just needed to know that I knew this is what I was meant to do. And midway through the week, it was Wednesday morning, to be very clear, I got up, I started my morning with a prayer, because I still felt like, okay, I've kind of cleared some of the cobwebs, some of the things that typically keep me distracted. What is the answer to my question? What is the answer to my question? And my question was, am I going down the right path? Is this what I'm meant to be pursuing? And the answer was yes, but. The answer was yes, but don't forget where you started. And that resonated so much for me, because I was really concerned that I had in some ways abandoned the work that I began in the space that I started in. And it wasn't anything that I did deliberately. It's just the way that it happened because of the things that I was focused on, primarily work, to be very honest. Towards the end of my career at the job that shall not be named, I became not a workaholic by choice, but I was working too many hours. an obscene amount of hours. And so work was consuming a lot of my life. And so I didn't really have room or time for anything other than that. And so a lot of the things that I started, a lot of the nurturing of the garden that I had really fell by the wayside, and in some ways into some disrepair. And so that really hit home for me, hearing that. And so immediately I was grateful to get that answer. And you might call it your sixth sense, your gut, your intuition, whatever that is for you. Totally cool. But it really hit home for me. And then it was later that day, actually, I started seeing a huge uptick in my book sales. And the predominant book that was leading the pack was not my current book, but a book that I had written in 2021. And it was tied to all of the work that I had done in the completely other space. And I kind of laughed because I was thinking to myself, okay, message received. And I was still super excited because at the end of the day, a sale is a sale. Imagine writing a book almost 4 years ago and still seeing the fruits of your labor come through in sales. That's amazing. Who doesn't want that? It was just funny that every time I would go into Amazon and see the order number climb and I would scroll down, it wasn't the current book, it was the old book. And so it definitely made me laugh, but I was still grateful because I knew that the message that I received was in fact the message that I needed to hear and answer the question that I had. But then I had this moment, as per usual, of doubt again, because now I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking at this book that I did in 2021 that is now, for this week alone, in double digits, like just over here showing off. And the book I just wrote is in single digits, just looking at me like, what? And so now I'm thinking to myself, maybe I just heard what I wanted to hear, but really the real truth of the matter is I need to go all the way back and abandon this thing here because this is not what I'm meant to be doing. Yes, the struggle is real sometimes, guys. And so then I have that, again, that moment of doubt where I thought, okay, maybe I just thought I heard that, but maybe that's not really what I was supposed to hear. And so that now I'm waffling again. So fast forward to today, which is Saturday. And I think the universe knew that it was like, okay, let me help her out. Because now she's over here doubting again. And now she's over here second guessing what I'd already told her. And a series of events happened throughout the entire morning that I just have to share with you all because it really just brought the point home for me. Starting from this very morning, I heard back from an event organizer that I'd reached out to about a potential collaboration. And I'm being very vague because we're still ironing out the details, but it is an upcoming event where I'm going to be doing a Q&A. And I had just reached out to them because I follow them on LinkedIn and I love their work. And so I just thought, what the heck? They're going to be in my neck of the woods. Maybe we can do a partnership in exchange for allowing me to do some type of event within their event. Real clear there, right? Maybe in exchange, I could offer my book to the attendees. And she was really receptive and really liked the idea. And so we hit it off. And then there was a couple of days that went past. And y'all, this is just how my mind works. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. I don't know if it's a meme or a GIF, but it's basically this person that is standing on the ledge of a cruise ship that is very tall. And the caption is me jumping to conclusions. And I swear that's like a state of being for me all the time. So I'll reach out to someone and then I don't hear back right away, and I'm just like, oh man, okay. They don't want none of this. And maybe it's just me. I'll just talk to myself. But let me tell you, it is real. As a creative, as a content creator, as an author, as a writer, you tend to be very sensitive and you take things very personally, even when there is no evidence to prove that what you believe is true. You will take it to heart and be all the way at the conclusions without even having any evidence to prove that what you think is true. So some time had passed by since the last time we corresponded, and I was like, yep, nope, they don't, nope. They're just like, nope, we're not doing this with her. We're not interested. And this morning they reached out, had a great exchange with them to finalize a couple more details. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So then I got excited, right? And then I got another unsolicited email from an individual who wants to be a guest on the show. This year's show, guys. Yes. They said they love the work of Black women in corporate America. They told me a little bit about themselves and would love to be on the show. And I'm like, okay, cool. And if that weren't enough, right? Because I'm thinking, okay, this is exciting. I got 2 more 5-star reviews on Playing the Game While Black Women in Corporate America. So that, if you're keeping track at home, that is a whole whopping 7 5-star reviews on Amazon. And sure, you might think, oh, 7, whatever. That's a lot, guys. 7 5-star reviews? Nothing but 5-star reviews? I'm taking that as a win. Thank you very much. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is exciting. And of course I read them, took screenshots, all of the things. And then, yes, I know. And then, then I get an email on LinkedIn, a message, I should say, on LinkedIn from someone. Did not know this person. They said, hey, first of all, the subject line was thank you. And then they said, hey, I just wanted you to know that I bought your book, read it, and I love it. I've shared it with everyone. Keep doing what you're doing. Paraphrasing here. And I was, of course, excited and floored and all of the things. But that wasn't even it, y'all. Nope, there's more. Yes, there's more, just like the infomercials. Then I get a message from someone that I reached out to because I want them to be a guest on the podcast. No, I cannot say who it is, but I would say in the grand scheme of things, it is the person at the tippy top of my list that I want on this podcast, because I have followed her for a really long time. I love her work. She is phenomenal. And I was like, well, who better to have on this here pod than this person? So I took a leap and I sent her a message earlier this year and said, hey, love your work, give a little rundown, told her about what I'm doing, told her I would love to have on the pod, and I didn't hear back. And of course, there I go again. Remember the meme? That is me. I'm telling you, just put a picture of me. Every time you think about it, jump into conclusions. Oh, I'm still not fully established. I need to grow a little bit more. I'm probably not big enough for them to consider this an option. All of these things I was concluding to in my head, right? To the point that I had honestly forgotten about it. And then here it comes, another message in my LinkedIn. And it is from this person, and not just from their people, but directly from this person. And I tell y'all, the smile I had on my face reading the message, how personal and warm it was, and how she said that she was going to share my details with her booking manager, and how fancy I felt. And I could say, oh, by the way, I'm working with a publicist. Here is her information. Yeah, I don't understand the level of fancy that is to be like, have your people call my people. I got people, y'all. And so I just felt so giddy. By the time the morning was over, I was in like a whole state of euphoria that all of these things happened. And then you know what hit me? Right when all of that was happening, what I heard clear as day was, you see what I told you on Wednesday? Yes, but also. Not either or, it's yes and. And that was like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. You saw when I was over there like running like a chicken with my head cut off because I had made all these assumptions about all these things that weren't really happening that I just made up in my head. Oh, okay. I got you. I see what you were saying now. And it was just so funny. Like, this is how I talk, like with when I'm talking to God and going through my things and saying my little prayers, like we just be having a conversation, and you can take that however you want to take it. It is what it is. But it was just funny to me to have that come right back. Like, yeah, you were out here acting a whole fool because you have made all these conclusions and assumptions about things that were not happening. And it really hit home for me. And then, because you guys are still wondering, like, okay, what does all of this have to do with pursuing your passion, girl? Get to the point. Yes, I'm getting there. So after that finally hit home, and I was like, okay, I heard you, because Lord knows that I need more than one time for the stuff to sink in. As intelligent as I know I am, full stop. As intelligent as I know I am so hard-headed when it comes to my belief in myself sometimes. And I know that I'm probably preaching to the choir. I know you have been there as well, especially as a Black woman who has been underestimated all of the time. Okay, I get it. 100% get it. So when all of that finally hit home, clearly the universe was like, okay, now you're ready to hear what I really need to tell you. Now that we have put that to bed, which we should have put to bed on Wednesday because that's when I told it to you. Now I can tell you the thing I wanted to tell you today. And the thing that I needed to hear today was brought to me by none other than Tabitha Brown, where I was scrolling through my LinkedIn feed, and here is a video from her on Instagram. And she was talking about how she had taken a break from just, being in mainstream because she was recovering from hip surgery and just really trying to get back into the swing of things. But the main thing that she was talking about was the whole idea of doing too much. And I hear that a lot, and it's something I have said myself and heard from people. And not in the way you think, not in the way that we have to stay in a lane and pick a lane and stay in it, not in that way. Well, she was talking about all of the things she has coming up between different products that are going to be featured in Target, Ulta, you name it, upcoming shows, movies, tours, all of those things, right? And the thing that just had me wanting to throw my shoe at the screen was, as she was saying all these things, she would end with, because God said I could. And it just really hit home for me, because while you might only see this one aspect of me on this podcast or through the book, I am multifaceted. And I don't say this to brag or beat my chest. I say that I have a lot of interests. And sometimes you worry that because you are conditioned to believe that you're doing too much, you may buy into the lie that you're doing too much. And so I do sometimes worry, like, okay, I've got this book that I put out. Then I was like, oh, this needs a podcast because that's what my gut was telling me, and I went with it. And so I did that. But that's not all that Nicole S. Palmer does. And in case you're wondering, a little fun fact or fun aside, why, girl, do you always say your middle initial every time you talk about yourself? I'm glad you asked me the question. Or maybe you were just wondering. Here it goes. If you do a search on the Google for Nicole Palmer, you're going to find a whole lot of Nicole Palmers. First of all, Nicole is a very common name, and apparently so is Palmer. And you put the two together, you'd be lucky if you find me somewhere. But if you search for Nicole S. Palmer now, go ahead and do it. See what happens. Do both tests. Search for Nicole Palmer, then search for Nicole S. Palmer. Whole different can of wax. Isn't that what they say? Yeah, let's go with it. So I have gotten to the habit of always using my middle initial because it sets me apart. And honestly, I like my middle name, but I'm not going to say the whole thing. We don't know each other that well yet. Buy me dinner first, okay? So that is why I always say Nicole S. Palmer, because I am unique, and that's what sets me apart from all of Nicole Palmers you're going to see online. And just online, let's figuratively speaking, right? But back to my point. My point was, there are all these facets of who I am, aside from this podcast and the book that is tied to the podcast. In addition to that, I am the founding partner of what will soon become the next media empire. Yep, I said it. You got to confess things. Call things that be not as they may. That's where it starts. If you don't believe it, who will, right? So my husband and I founded this media company together. We officially launched it this year, but it's been in operation since we got married, because we have always done these different joint ventures together in this space, because I had been freelancing long before he and I met. And so I just kind of pulled him into my orbit when it comes to that. And so we've done so many different things together. And then we decided, I guess, to make it official. Actually, late last year, we incorporated the organization, Delnick Media, and we officially launched the website this year. But it's been around for a hot minute, for as long as we've been married. And it'll be 21 years in June. Full disclosure. So if you're wondering how long Delnick Media has been in operations, unofficially 21 years. Officially speaking, since last year. But it's been around for a minute. So I say all that to say that I'm the founding partner of Delnick Media, as well as the editor-in-chief. In addition to that, I have all of these stories that I wrote on Kindle Vella, and we all know, well, or maybe we don't. This could be just for the people who write short stories and who get what I'm about to say, is that Kindle Vella is going away. And that was Amazon's serialized short story arm. So where they had novellas, which are short stories, if I'm not mistaken, serialized short stories that they would allow you to publish on their platform. And I had several on there that I was publishing essentially since they came out with Kindle Vella. And now that Kindle Vella is going away because they realized that the model wasn't making the money the way that they thought it would, they decided they're going to go ahead and sunset that part of their business. So Kindle Vella goes away in February. And that is really one of the, not the only, but it was definitely one of the drivers that led us to accelerate the launch of our website, because I had all these stories I had written and they needed a new home, because I still have more to share on these stories. So I have like 4 different stories in that space, actually more if I count those stories that I'm doing that are non-secular, because that's the other facet of who I am. And so I had all these stories that I wanted to make sure that they had a new home. And so we came up with a concept together that we're really excited about. That's really going to be the new Kindle Vella. You heard it here first. And so there's that. And then there's another book that I wrote that is a fiction, pretty much loosely based on my life, though, if I'm being very honest. And it is a fiction that is a detective story that is very much along the lines of Nancy Drew, the Hardy Boys, and Encyclopedia Brown. If you grew up like I did, loving those type of stories, this is the perfect story for you. The big and perfect twist is that it is based on a character who is Jamaican, as I am, and the novel is based in Jamaica, and that is where she gets her start. And it really talks about the biggest case that really it talks about the first case that really catapulted her into becoming a detective and pursuing that. And like I said, it is very much based on my life. It might be fiction because I did obviously have to tweak some of the things to fit where I was going with it, but it is 100% based on my life. I even use names of some of my family members in the first book. And so this book is out. It is on Amazon. And on top of that, I created a serialized story based on the book, based on her, I would call her origin story, leading up to this big case where she really kind of pushes into the sphere of becoming a detective. And I got a lot going on, guys. I am pursuing a doctorate as well in public health. And I've got a day job and I'm doing the business. And I am very much of the mind, and this is part of why I wrote the book. And some of the things I talk about in the book is you got to get your side hustle game up. Even if you don't want to necessarily have a home business, and let me kind of caveat this. Maybe you're not someone who sees themselves as a business owner. That's okay. But you should at least have something on the side. And the reason why I think that is so important, especially for Black women, is because you never know when the other shoe is going to drop. I never believed for a second when I began my career back in 2013, June 5th, 2013 was the exact day that I began my career at this corporate job. And in fact, it goes back further than that because I was doing agency work for this organization since 2006. So I had 100%, it is the longest working relationship I have had in my entire life. And so if you had told me in 2006, heck, in 2013, that the end of my work life at this place would end the way that it did, I would have laughed at you. 100%. I would have told you there's no way. There's just no way. And I never would have seen the ending. I never would have predicted it the way that I did. Or I didn't predict anything, let me be clear. But I never would have predicted the ending at all because I 100% believed this was it for me. This was the place I was going to retire from. And I'm saying this as someone who still very much had a home business. But if you know the nature of the beast, especially when it comes to freelancing, I just figured, well, I would do that because it's a great supplemental income. And then this over here, the day job, pays for the benefits, the insurance and all the stuff that we can't live without, right? So I figured, heck, I could make a career out of this. I could climb the ladder. I can pretty much set this on autopilot because I excelled at it. So I figured I could set this on autopilot because I excelled at it. And that was the end of that. And so when it finally came time for me to make a decision of whether or not I was going to return, because I did have to take medical leave. And this honestly is the story of every high functioning Black woman I have pretty much ever spoken to or have followed or have subscribed to. We all have that moment where our body says, that is enough. And if you are not going to pay attention to the warning signs, I'm going to give you the harshest wake-up call of all. So yes, I 100% burned out and I had to go on medical leave. And during that time, I really had to come to grips with the fact that the job was essentially killing me. And so when I made the decision to move away, and a lot of people would say, well, oh my goodness, weren't you freaking out about where were you going to land? What were you going to do? Nah. And you're like, oh, okay, you're that confident. No, that's not really it. It's that I already had something lined up. And so that's really what I'm trying to drive the point home to you. And I also talk about this in my book. You need to always have a backup, and then a backup to the backup, and then a backup to the backup to the backup. That's just how I roll. Honestly, I think most of us do when it comes to especially being Black, because we know at any moment in time, the rug can get pulled out from under us. I've been laid off before. I got laid off when the bubble burst in 2008. I was living in Florida and I got the call after I tried to log into work and my credentials weren't working. And then I found out, oh, okay, you're no longer working here. All right, cool. And I scrambled back then in 2008 because I didn't have anything else going on. But despite the scramble, I still had a fantastic network. And within a week from the time that I was laid off, I had something lined up. Granted, it was in Maryland, but we weren't trying to stay in Florida that long anyway. Again, a story for another day. So I was still grateful, but that moment taught me to never not have something in my back pocket. And that's actually something, again, I talk about in the book. There's a specific term I call it. And if you want to know what it is, go check the book out. Go get the book. It's $14.99, guys. I mean, come on. Seriously. That's like what? Quad, venti, whatever at Starbucks. So I say that to say that even if you don't really want to be a business owner, you can have you a side job. And it doesn't even have to be a job you do from home. You can have you a side job. And you can do it part-time so that if and when the shoe drops, you can be like, that's cool. I'm good. You don't have to panic because you have something lined up. What I see a lot of now is there's this huge spike in unemployment rate. There's this huge spike in the unemployment rate, especially as it pertains to Black women. It is, I believe, double the rate compared to other groups. We are in dire straits right now, guys. And so it breaks my heart to see so many of us, when we have been laid off unexpectedly around the holidays, whatever the case is, and we don't have any soft landing because we didn't make a soft landing for ourselves. And so I highly, highly encourage you to do that. And you don't have to do something you hate. You can do something that you're passionate about. That's the beauty of doing a side hustle. So on top of everything that I've mentioned to you that I'm working on, which is honestly sounds like a lot. It is, sure. But I get it done. And I have another podcast, a whole other podcast, which is called Feast, Famine, and Freelancing, F3 for short. And that podcast I do with someone that I met at one of my consulting gigs. And it's been phenomenal. We only just started less than 3 months ago. We are already up a significant number. To be specific, we're at 411 subscribers for less than 3 months worth of work. We just hit 3 months actually. We're at episode 12. So if you just split it up, considering we do this every week, 12 by 4, that's a terrible math. Hold on a second. Yeah, 12 by 4. Yeah, no, I was right. 3 months. Okay. So 3 months and we're at 411 subscribers, and we have last I checked, I believe it's over 50,000 views on that podcast alone. And we are not doing massive advertising. We are advertising, I think, maybe when it's all said and done, we've gone in half and half, and we do about $300 of marketing on that podcast. And that is where we are. We are on our way to monetization. And that is something that is focused on what I know a lot about, which is freelancing. Another facet of who I am. And so there are all these dimensions of who I am. And that's the same for everyone. And I say all of this to say that you don't have to put yourself in a box. And don't let people do that either. Don't let people put you in a box. If you're passionate about multiple things, pursue all the things. Pursue them all. No one gets to tell you what you should be pursuing. If it's something you're passionate about, if it's something you're skilled at, pursue it with reckless abandon. So, yeah, pursue all the things. It is okay to be passionate about multiple things. There's nothing wrong with it, and you can pursue all of them. If you have the bandwidth and the capacity and the skill set and the know-how, what is stopping you from pursuing them? We have so many fantastic tools out, and I'm going to get into that at some point and share with you guys some of the tools that I use that have been a game changer for me. That's going to be a whole other separate episode, and we'll get into that later. But pursue all the things. And that's really what got me so hype about Tabitha and her message, because it was so on time. Once I understood that the mandate and the calling was yes and, not either or, I was ready to hear what she shared about pursuing all of the things. And only you can decide what that looks like for you. And, you know, I heard that somewhere like a while back, and I think it just didn't land home until now that I was ready to hear it, that no one gets to determine what's too much for you. Only you can determine what's too much for you. And as long as that is clear, and as long as you have peace about what you're pursuing, go for it. Go for it. Life is entirely too short. I certainly don't want to look back on my life and think, man, I wish I had done X, Y, and Z. I'm just doing all the things. If there's a story that I want to write about, I'm doing it. If there's a book I want to publish, I'm going to do it. And because I'm self-published, I don't need anyone to tell me, well, we're not really looking for that right now. Oh, well, you need to have a bigger audience. Oh, well, this. Oh, well, that. I can do it all by myself. And that's what I want for all of us, especially for us as Black women. I just want us to win. And I think that we have been beat down so much by corporate America, and we have been in this space where we have had to conform. And we still do, unfortunately. That's just how it is. And that's really the whole crux of my book, How to Do It, how to navigate corporate America and still be true to yourself. And there is a happy medium, not where you have to betray yourself or feel like you are being phony. There is a happy medium where you don't have to feel like a sellout or be a sellout, but you can still succeed and thrive, right? So I would love for just all of us to agree that, yes, this might be 2025 and this is the year that we're going to choose ourselves. 100% agreed. But let's do that strategically. Let's go ahead and line up those side hustles or those side jobs, whether it's part-time, whether you could be bartending, whatever it is you want to do on the side on the weekend after hours when you're not on the clock. Go do that thing. It doesn't have to be anything that is quote unquote, oh, I'm going to start a TikTok channel tomorrow. It doesn't have to be that if that's not what you're into. Go do bartending or whatever it is you're interested in doing. Go do that, but have something lined up so you can never feel that you're beholden to your employer or that you're stuck or you're trapped because you have a way out. And that's really the bottom line. And that's why pursuing your passion really will help you do that. Because if you're pursuing your passions, you can pursue your passions and make money from your passions. Your passions don't have to be free. They do not. You can be paid from your passions. They could be paid passions, 100%. And if you do that while still being at work and doing the day job and doing the thing that brings your income in until everything else pans out, you will be all the better for it. And at the same time, if all you want to do is clock in and clock out, that's okay too, but still have something on the side. There are way too many of us losing our jobs for us to not have a backup plan or have a really solid network that if you call them tomorrow, they can line you up with something. It is very concerning times at this time, folks. So have something lined up. If all you want to do is be the best corporate person you can be, that's cool. Just make sure you have something else on the side, whether it's speaking engagements because of your job, whatever the case is. I know someone who I worked with that was full-time, a full-on director, but was also an artist and got paid for his art. So look, man, there's just too many things out there that we could do that really can bring in some additional income, because we all know the math ain't mathing when it comes to what we're being paid compared to our counterparts. And also with this economy and inflation, you've got to find ways to level up financially and in every other area. Why not pursue your passion? One thing I love about pursuing your passion, I've said that a lot. You probably could have a ticker and see how many times I said that. But the one thing I love about pursuing my passion, which I was still doing while I had my day job, I don't remember a single day job I had that I wasn't also doing the business on the side. What I loved about doing the business on the side is that it's what I loved. It's in the name, it's in the phrase. I loved the business and I loved what I was doing because it was what I was the most passionate about. And the reason why that is so important is because it became a shelter, a safe space for me when work got to be a lot. And that happened a lot. As a traditionally outspoken Black woman, who sometimes, y'all, my mouth be writing checks that my behind cannot cash. Flat out. And I mentioned this story before. And honestly, I thought it was harmless, but looking back, I knew it wasn't harmless when I play back the tape where I was at a consulting assignment recently. This is 2024, guys. Don't think this was like way back in the day. But I was in a consulting assignment and started off really great. My boss loved me as much as you can love someone who works for you. I had set up this really great system for her team that they all loved and appreciated. I trained them on how to use it. I was their go-to person. Mind you, this is something I was doing on top of my regular duties. This is not something that I was getting paid for in addition to. And I set up the system for them. I trained them. I had follow-up meetings when they had questions and things weren't working. And then it even went so far as she had me take on an additional responsibility outside of my duties with a totally different team. I did get paid additional for that, full disclosure, but I was doing the thing. And if you know me in real life, you know that I'm the person that has the side job at the day job. Yes, that is 100% me. If having a side job at the day job was a person, you're listening to her right now. And so everything was going great until it wasn't. And I might save this for next week. And I know that is terrible, right? That is a horrible teaser. I just left y'all hanging. The reason I say that is because there's a lot of layers to what I want to share with this particular story. And it is 100% tied to the phenomenon that I talk about. And I actually talked about it last episode, I believe. Unless I'm misremembering, I think I talked about this. Yeah, I did. About the whole concept of there can only be one. So there's a whole story tied to what I want to share about this particular incident. So I'm going to put a pin on it. It was not intentional, I promise y'all. But I can tell you the one story without telling you the other story. And I'm already way over the time that I plan to do for this podcast. You know that I like to keep this to about 30 minutes. And we are way over 30. So y'all gonna have to come back next week so I can break it down for you guys what had happened, and what came out of that. So I say all that to say that as a overperforming, a high performing, highly ambitious, highly driven Black woman, there's a cost that comes with that. And a lot of times the cost is that we are typically, when it comes to the workplace, very outspoken. And that can often, that often comes with consequences. Full disclosure, you guys know what I'm talking about. And it's also why I wrote the book, to be clear. I'm trying to help y'all avoid some heartache, some of the stuff I went through. So when you're pursuing your passion and you're dealing with all of what a workplace will bring you when it's toxic, especially when it's not toxic, but you're the only one or one of the few, and they treat you like a museum exhibit or a zoo animal because they don't, I guess, know how to interact with Black people or Black women specifically, because we're always angry, right? And we're always snapping our fingers, weaving our necks, because that's just what all Black women do. And when it comes to being in a space like that, when you have this onslaught of microaggressions, macroaggressions, racism, all of the isms that you can think about when you're navigating corporate America as a Black woman, it can be a lot. And the saving grace for me has always been the things that I love, aside from my husband, who has been phenomenal. But my writing, my business, it is really the lighthouse in what often was a stormy sea for me, to have something that I knew was mine, that I knew was never going to treat me the way that I was treated at work, because I was in the driver's seat. If I had clients that were misbehaving, I could fire them because I was HBIC. And that's so important, especially when you are in corporate America. You need something that is all your own. If you don't need extra money, some people don't, and that's cool. Do some knitting. Find something that you love to do. It doesn't have to be knitting. I'm just putting that out there. And there's nothing wrong with knitting. I actually really enjoy it when I was doing it way back in the day. Find something that gives you a respite, that gives you an escape in terms of helps you decompress from the workday. It could be yoga. It could be open mic night because you are a badass poet. Maybe that's your thing. Whatever it is, find something that you love and just pursue that thing, whether you want it to be from money or not. I personally think that having money from your passion is a bonus. It's kind of like that saying that is, let your job fund your passion until your passion becomes your job. That is delicious and sweet. So pursue your passions. I think you get the point of today's message. And it's so, to me, apropos for all of the things I've seen happening and all of the messages and the stories, especially as it pertains to the state of this country with relation to Black women. It's an increasingly concerning number of Black women who are out of work and not able to find work for months and months and months. And they are forced to turn to entrepreneurship because they don't see any other way, because no other doors are opening. So don't wait until it's too late. Do it now. Not tomorrow, now. Go ahead and open up that YouTube. You know you want to. You've been thinking about it. So go ahead and create it. I just started YouTube late last year. So it is not too late. At my big old age, at 45, I decided I'm going to go ahead and get on YouTube. And on TikTok, on the verge of a ban. Like, I just joined TikTok maybe about 2 months ago. So it's never too late. just do the thing that you keep putting off because you are terrified. That is the thing you're meant to do. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead and do it already. All right. I've taken up enough of your time for sure, because I went way over today. So y'all gonna have to forgive me. But I had a lot to share as it relates to this. And I'm super excited of all of the things that are happening and all of this beautiful confirmation that I am 100% on the right track and on the right path. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this is going to go. I'm excited that we are soon going to have some guests on the show, so you don't have to just listen to me the whole time. So I'm excited about that. I'm super excited that I'm working with a partner, a publicist that understands what my core values are and also understands the struggles that we have as Black women, as a Black woman herself. And that was very important to me when I was looking to decide to partner with someone for something as important as this. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please share this with someone who needs to hear this. Y'all all have a friend. You know that girl. You know who it is that you've been telling her forever. Girl, you need to do this. You're so good at this. Why don't you do this? Maybe it's braiding hair. Whatever it is, we are so creative when it comes to side hustles and the things that we are so good at. Please monetize that. Go ahead and put that to good use. And don't let anybody tell you you're doing too much. You do whatever it is you are called to do. Period, point blank. And on that, I'm going to drop the mic. And I'm going to wish you all a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe. And I'll see you back here, same time, same station, next week, 7 p.m. Take care.